I thought she was the one. When our eyes met, it was love at first sight. Her name was Amy, and she was my soulmate. Our relationship felt like a fairy tale, something that you would only see in the movies. But without any warning, it was over. I got dumped.
You love her, but she loves him.
I had zero clue why it happened. What did I do wrong? Was there anything that I could do to get us back together? I had no one to consult, and I felt all alone. Okay, before you feel sorry for me, you probably need to know that this all happened when I was in the 6th grade. And Amy and I, we only dated for a few weeks, but she was my first girlfriend and I felt that I was in love. And when you get dumped by a girl in the 6th grade, you can't go ask her friends why you got canned. You're left scratching your head wondering, what did you do wrong? What did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Now, thankfully, I moved on and eventually found my soulmate, the true love of my life. Love you, babe. And after getting married, I never thought I would get dumped again, but it happened. And this time it hurts even more. Because this time I didn't get dumped by my childhood sweetheart. I got dumped by Google. Let me explain. What's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. I am your grateful host, Jeff Rose. So for those that are new to the channel, yes, I started a blog many years ago. It was one of the best career and business decisions that I have ever made. But along that way, I got dumped by Google. And I'll explain more of that here in a sec. But despite getting dumped by Google, I still managed to get over 62 million visitors to my blog. So that's correct. I got dumped by Google and still managed to get 62 million people to come to my site and check it out. And this is new visitors. This is not paid views. And I'm sure right now you're probably distracted because you're like, okay, you're talking about Google getting dumped. You're talking about 62 million visitors, but all of a sudden, all I see is this picture of you. Yes, this is me right here. And I'm wearing my little Foo Fighters t-shirt there. Oh yeah, I was totally grunging out. I don't know why I chose to use this picture for this talk because it doesn't really apply either way. You're seeing some 90s throwback right there.
This one is a lie.
All right, so yes, as I was saying, I started this blog and it was very similar, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video, of me dating with my very first girlfriend. This is not me in the 6th grade, although I don't know if that's cute or not. I mean, look at those glasses. Look at those teeth. Yes, braces have done an amazing thing, let me tell you. So it's my first girlfriend. Yes, her name was Amy. And out of nowhere, she dumped me and had no idea why. And I was devastated. I was crushed. And the same thing happened with my courtship or relationship with Google. And I'm gonna walk through this process because many of you that know my story, you know that it has ended as a success. It still is a success, it's ongoing, but many people aren't aware like what happened in the beginning. So like any true dating relationship, with Google and starting my blog, it all started with the courtship. You know, this is us getting to know each other, feeling each other out, just seeing what's our likes, what's our interests, you know, what our interests are, what's our sign, all this stuff, right? So for me, courting Google, like, you know, if you are starting a new blog, a new site, you have to show Google that you are legit, that you are in it to win it, that this is not a fling, this is not a one-night stand, that you are willing to commit and go all in, full send. So when I started blogging in the beginning, I mean, it was a hustle. And I am so grateful that my wife took this picture. This is me with my first son down here on my lap. So that is him. I am got his formula there. I've got the BlackBerry or the Crackberry as I am editing a blog post. Now the cool thing about this is, sometimes you see pictures on social media and you think that it's staged. I don't think this was staged. Like, I don't remember this picture being taken, but there's no doubt. I mean, that is me working on my blog. That is WordPress. That's me. I had the BlackBerry. That was before the iPhone. And this was not an uncommon scene, that I was working on my blog, doing everything that I could to get it going, to get it off the ground, to show Google that I am, once again, in it to win it. And anytime, like for me, for those that don't know Jeff Rose, when I go, as my boys would say, full send. So this was talking about what is the most massive way that I can make an impact in the beginning. And one of the things I did in the beginning was I did this guest post blitz. And basically what this meant was I started connecting with other bloggers and I began writing for as many blogs that were willing to allow me to write. And this is some logos of some of the blogs. I don't know if this was all of them, but this was many of them that I wrote, me and myself alone, wrote guest articles for their sites. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, yes, there were more, but like in the beginning, and there was like an intent here. Like I had a very specific goal, which I'll address in another video. I'm gonna share with you like behind the scenes, like what I did, what I was trying to do. Either way, doing this, I achieved that goal. And this also was sharing with Google that I am taking this seriously. I'm getting backlinks back to my blog. They're seeing my name being mentioned on other respected sites, other respected personal finance blogs. So that was one of the massive ways that I started. The other thing, you'll still see people do this nowadays, are roundups. Roundups are basically like you contact a bunch of people and you ask them like to share, what is your top tip? What is your best investment tip? What is your best savings tip? So on and so forth. And I did several of these. They all don't live on the site anymore. They've been redirected. But one of the first ones that I found that I did was this massive 107 things that make good financial sense. So did a play off the blog. For those that don't know, that's in my blog, goodfinancialsense.com. So 107. Now I didn't have like 107 individual blogs that participated, but because I had several bloggers that added maybe 2 or 3 different quotes for this. But I contacted, I don't know exactly, but it was definitely over 60, maybe it was over 70 site owners that I was contacting, emailing them. And I was sending personalized emails to each of them, gathering interest just to show people, hey, like this is me, this is not my assistant, this is not some copy and paste bot that's sending them email. Like it was me reaching out. As I said, this was one of the things that I did. Roundup posts I did several others. I had one that was like the top 3 financial goals I remember that I did, and there was others that I did. What I did, like this was me in the beginning, connecting, networking, hustling. I mean, I didn't have any writers at the time. So this was, when I said me and myself alone writing these articles, like that's what I was doing. And that leads us to one of the first rules of blogging. The golden rule is to give, and never expect anything in return. And I shared this in previous videos. It's the same with networking. If you're trying to network with other people, one of the easiest ways that you can get in good with them to build a good rapport and a relationship is to give first before you ask. Give. And that's what I was doing with these roundups, was I was willing to link to these different site owners and I wasn't asking anything in return. All they had to do was provide me a quote and then I would take care of the rest. And all of that worked. So this is a snapshot of my traffic. This is going back, for those, I didn't mention this, but the site was launched in July of 2008. And as you can see, like that is legit traffic growth for a brand new site, for a guy that has no idea how SEO works, search engine optimization. So this is all referral traffic coming directly from Google. So people were going to Google, typing in some sort of phrase, and they were finding my site. Google was offering my site as a suggestion. And I don't know if you can tell there, but like this is well over 100,000 visitors that I was getting in 1 month. 1 month, like to have no idea what you're doing. And just, this is the end of 2010. So we're looking at 2 years later, I'm getting over 100,000 visitors a month to my site. Like I was blown away because I was on cloud 9 back here. Like I was ecstatic when I was getting 10,000 people a month. And then I go from that all the way to over 100,000. Whew, that is awesome. So everything that I'm doing at this point is working. And this is so similar to what it felt like when I was dating Amy. Like everything was working. I thought I knew what I was doing. I thought I had everything in control. Everything is in the bag. And then all of a sudden the breakup happens. So now we have the breakup, or as they say, getting dumped. So for those that don't know, Google has what they call these algorithm updates, and each of these updates are named, at least they were, I don't know if it still is, they were named after an animal. And I think this was the very first one. It was named after a panda, because look how cute pandas are. I mean, pandas, especially baby pandas, they make you smile. Look at, hey panda, you're so cute, thank you. Oh, you're so cute, I love you. As the caption says, don't let my cuteness distract you because I'm gonna eat all of your traffic. And essentially that's what happened. And I remember the date, April 11th, 2011 is when Google Panda struck. So you can see my traffic is like, I mean, I am on cloud 9. And the only reason that there was this bump here was because that was April 15th tax day. And I had some articles, or at least had one article that was ranking really high. I think it was something like, what happens if you don't file your tax return? That's what it was. It was ranking really high. So that one did well still on tax day. But I mean, technically, I guess Panda happened here, had the spike here, and then boom. I calculated that overnight, I lost 74% of my search traffic overnight. 74%. That is not a fun feeling. And just like with Amy getting dumped, I had nowhere to go. I mean, it literally felt like I was in a head-on collision that I didn't see coming. Because at that point in time, like, as I said earlier, I didn't know what I did to get to over 100,000 visitors a month. So now it's like, I didn't even know what I did to get there. And now that the traffic has disappeared, I definitely don't know what to do to get it back, because I don't know what I did right, and I definitely don't know what I did wrong. And it felt like I was in a head-on collision. You know, I kept thinking, man, the next day, is it gonna come back? No, next day is it gonna come back. And several days went by, and then I'm talking to other bloggers that are either seeing a similar occurrence where they lost their traffic or they weren't hit at all. And no one had an answer. Like Google did not have a toll-free hotline. I couldn't go to Google's friends and say, hey, do you know why Google dumped me? Like, what did I do wrong? Like, I want to get back together. Like, can we start dating again? Give me another chance. Like, I promise that it's going to be different. Like there wasn't anything. There wasn't a crisis hotline. There was no help. I think I took at least a few weeks off because I'm like, oh my gosh, I just spent over 2.5 years to grow this thing. And now it's gone. I mean, it wasn't all gone, but it felt like it. And I just remember like depression setting in. So then I'm like, okay, who can I talk to? Who can I reach out to? And for those that maybe, I think this show might still be on, Who Wants to Be a Millionaire? It used to be with Regis Philbin. I think, what's his name? Somebody's filling in now. I can't think of his name. Anyway, but in this game show, they have this, you have 3 chances. Like if you miss a question, then you're done. But one of the options is a lifeline and you can phone a friend. So I needed to phone a friend. So I thought, okay, who do I know that's been blogging a while that can offer some perspective? And one of the guys that was in my network and still is, his name is Jim Wang. Jim Wang, he was the founder of bargaineering.org or .com? I forgot the name. I forgot the extension. He has since sold that blog. It's been reported that it sold for over 3 million, somewhere in that price range. I don't know exactly, but there's several numbers floating around. But at the time, like he was still running that site. And right now, he has since relaunched, or I guess launched, a new personal finance blog called Wallet Hacks. And it's not that new. It's been around for a few years, and I know that he's doing really well with this site too. But anyway, this was the guy that I reached out to. And I'm like, Jim, okay, dude, you've been blogging for quite a while. What can you tell me? Like, what can you tell me? Tell me what to do. Like, tell me what to do. I'll do it so I can get all of my traffic back. I mean, that's essentially what I went into the call with, the hope that Jim would give me what I needed to fix my site to get all of my traffic back. And although I don't remember exactly what Jim said, I do recall his advice being something like this: suck it up. The funny thing is, like, Jim doesn't remember exactly what he told me. Like, he didn't actually say this, but he really didn't know. I mean, he didn't really know what happened. He didn't know how to fix my problem. It was just like he just listened to what I had to say and it's like, man, I'm sorry you're going through that, and just kind of keep at it. So whenever I didn't get those words of wisdom that I needed from Jim, I'm like, oh gosh, Jim, you didn't tell me to do anything. I had to go back to the drawing board and start asking myself this: why did I start the blog in the first place? What was the inspiration? Why am I still publishing articles over and over again? And I really had to go back and remind myself, like, what was the passion? What was the purpose behind the site? And when I finally remembered, like, okay, yes, this was a marketing tool for my financial planning practice, but also, like, this was something that I wanted to do because I wanted to help people. I felt like I had some experience and knowledge that I could share that could truly impact people's lives. So I went back and remembered that. I then went back and started to blog all over again. So I started to do everything that I was doing before. I'm writing more blog posts, just getting back into it. And this was the rebound. It's like, all right, Google, I get it. I don't know what I did wrong. I know that I can't make you want to take me back, but I'm going to do everything that I can to either get your eye again, get you to notice me again. There really is no one else to notice. I can't say I want Yahoo or Bing to notice me. I want Google to notice me. So I started taking action steps on getting the traffic back. And I then went on another guest posting blitz. This does not exist anymore. This is like a Google profile where I went on and added all of the different sites that I guest wrote for, and some of these I was an author for. For example, like I was an author with MarketWatch for a while. I wrote from, gosh, I'm actually looking at these and I forgot all the different places that I wrote. But I used to write for Huffington Post, US News, have written for AARP, Equifax, Chamber of Commerce. Oh my goodness, look at all these. So I was a Yahoo contributor. Don't even remember that. So these are just a handful of all of the sites that I started writing guest posts for. So some of these include some of that first slide that you saw. But as you can tell, there are that many more that I started to write for. So I'm like, okay, that worked last time. And I'll admit it, I wrote all these guest posts, I started ranking, and then I got comfortable. Like I got all that traffic. Like I don't need to, take out the trash. I don't need to pick up my socks or my underwear anymore. I'm just gonna go on cruise control. Sometimes that happens, whenever you're dating or in a marriage. And essentially that's what happened. I was still doing some work, but I definitely got very comfortable and probably too confident in the traffic that I had. So I went back to doing what worked before. I started writing even more and really focused on some of these bigger sites. Like what you don't see, like right now, like I still write for Forbes, Business Insider is still one that I contribute to. So there are others out there that aren't on here that I still contribute to. And here's just some other bloggers that I think it just offers some good perspective. Let me read Jay Money. So he used to have a blog called Budgets Are Sexy, which he ended up selling to, I cannot remember, was it USAA maybe that may have bought it? Actually, I don't remember. I have to look that up. But he had this to say about guest posting. He said guest posting was probably the number one thing that I did back in the day to get new eyeballs to the site, beat out all others, comedy carnivals, etc. I used to do 2 a month, but then I got lazy and probably haven't done one in 2 years now. Exactly what happened. Carrie Smith said that she hit over the 40 guest post mark. So guest posts work. They still work. A lot of people do them just to get a backlink. That is one reason why you do it, but also it's to get exposure to other people's audiences. To get your content, your thought leadership into another audience that may not know you. So it's like you're being introduced to the audience by the site owner, which is like major street cred, because like, oh, this person's allowing this person to guest post. Like they must like them or trust them. They must have something good to share. Guest posts are awesome. Another thing that I did, I really focused more on networking. So this network, I don't think exists anymore. This was called, I believe it was called the Yakizi. People pronounce it all different ways. It was basically a network of other personal finance bloggers that were all together trying to help each other out. And there was like a forum where people go in there and share different ideas. You could get links from other people, you could comment, guest articles, etc. And it was just another place to go to network with other people. This is really before like Facebook groups became a thing. So forums were a much more of if they existed, a place where you could really network with other people to get to know them and also put anything that you're working on their radar so they can maybe help promote. But once again, I went into here with the idea of I'm going to give before I give or I ask for anything in return. So that's one of the things, going in here and networking with bloggers. And most of them were newer bloggers. So the fact that I've been blogging at this time for 4 or 5 years, it was not super common to have a more experienced blogger like networking with those that have, new blogs. But yet, like, that was my way of giving back and just showing people, hey, listen, I don't think that I'm up here and you're down here and we can't communicate, because like I was once where you're at, and I want to do what I can to help you out. And then the other thing that I did, which I wish my assistant would have taken a screenshot of the YouTube channel back in the day, but at this point in time, there weren't a lot of financial planners on YouTube. And I doubled down and I thought, okay, Google, I was publishing all this content that was working out really well, but there aren't, as I mentioned, like not a lot of financial planners that had YouTube channels. Like there weren't a lot of, believe it or not, personal finance bloggers that had YouTube channels. Like the Graham Stephan, the Ryan Scribners, the Marco Whiteboard, Whiteboard Finance. Like these guys didn't exist at the time because, man, like money is boring. Boring. So it was like, that was totally cutting edge. Like I was hip back then. I was new to the scene, and I doubled down and started doing a lot of YouTube. So like I was publishing, I don't know, probably not as much like as Graham does right now, but probably 2 videos a week, when I could. And I went through different phases where I started publishing a lot of content, took some time off, so on and so forth. But I did this because I wanted to show Google that Good Financial Sense wasn't just a blog. It's just not just another website. It is a resource that has not just written content, but also video content. So that was just another way to show Google that I am all in, full send, what's up. Now, the danger though, in doing this is that you can hop on what is the hamster wheel of content. And that's essentially what happened to me, where it's like, man, if I'm publishing, 2 times a week and things are working, I might as well crank that up to 3 times a week. And if 3 times a week is working out, I might as well crank it up to 4 times a week. I remember at the peak, I was doing 5 times a week of written content. And that's not including the YouTube channel. If I was doing, say, 1 to 2 videos a week. And eventually, it was just, it's burnout. And I remember a mentor of mine saying, someone I looked up to, something that I admired in the personal finance space, saying, you're not going to change people's lives publishing 5 articles a week or publishing another blog post or another video. You got to do other things. And one of the things that I did was I started these blog movements, which at the time was like a cool thing. No one had done anything similar. The very first one I started was this Roth IRA movement. And all it was like I had this opportunity to speak at my college I graduated from, that was alumni from. And it was a class, I think it was graduating seniors, and most of them in this class didn't even know what a Roth IRA was. And I was so compelled and moved by that. I'm like, wait a second, you're getting ready to join the workforce and you don't know what a Roth IRA is? You need to know. And I left the class and I'm just I'm stewing over this. I end up texting or emailing some of my personal finance blogger friends. I'm like, hey, we need to do have a Roth IRA day where we all write about the Roth IRA and just promote this thing because more people need to know. And it was totally this grassroots movement thing where I think it was on a Thursday that I spoke to this class. And by the end of the weekend, I had, it was over 80 bloggers that were willing to take part. So there ended up being over 100, if I recall, maybe 110 different financial bloggers that all wrote about the Roth IRA on the exact same day, all because of some crazy idea that I came up with. That was one of the coolest things, just how organic it was, how it took life. And I remember the Wall Street Journal publishing an article and the headline was Roth IRA Day. So I took that and then I launched another movement, which was called the life insurance movement, which was basically the same concept, but now we're talking about life insurance. And I don't know if you can read that, but there were 145 different site owners that all took part. And then that eventually led to me starting the debt movement. And at the time I partnered with a company that no longer exists called Ready for Zero. And the whole goal here was we were trying to help people pay off $10 million of debt. We didn't get close to that. I don't remember exactly how much we paid off. I think it was maybe 2 to 3 million. And I was bummed about that, but also I was excited because we still paid off $3 million of debt. It could have been more, it could have been less. I do recall somewhere in that range. But these were 3 different movements that I started that allowed me to become a thought leader in the personal finance blogging space. But from from a Google noticing me trend, it's man, all these sites are linking to me. I'm getting mentioned here in major press coverage on all these movements. And on top of it, it was a lot of fun. And all of this, it was working. And it's excited me because I am going to start another movement. I've been really toying with a few different ideas. Stay tuned. If you want to know more about this, be sure to subscribe, hit that notification bell so that you can be in the know when the next movement is announced, because I would love for you to participate. So I am doing everything and then some to get back together with Google, and all of this effort finally paid off, and I am back. Now, I will say it took almost a year. It took almost a year to get back to where I was. Like, that's how long of a journey that it was. And I have some idea like what I did wrong. It had to do with like just some ad placement on the site and load speed, just some other random like technical stuff that I had to reach out and ask some people that were smarter than me to help me understand exactly what I did. But it eventually happened, and hopefully you can see this. If I need to increase this, I will. But here is, so this was Panda here. So that was Panda, and you can, I don't know if you can tell, like traffic didn't really start to come back until, so this was 2011, almost like 2012. If I recall correctly, it was like almost a year. So this goes to the end of 2013. So, you know, Panda here, treading. Okay, finally getting some bumps, back down, boom. And this is when it really started to take off. So that's the end of 2013. As I mentioned, I'm back. So here's Panda again. So here's Panda here. So here's 13, 14, boop, and we just keep going. So now we go to the end of 2020, boom, here's Panda, boom, 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 boom. So it has been a fun journey, and to the point where I have now, so I took a more recent screenshot after I published the title of the slide deck here, but over 62+ million people have come to visit the site, and that is after getting dumped by Google about right there. It has been a journey. It has been a long journey. It's been a fun journey. Not so much like right in here, like that wasn't so much fun. I'm sorry, actually it wasn't fun here, but whenever I started the Rebound and just remembered the purpose and the reason why I started, that's when it got fun again. But the one thing that I learned, so, you know, to go through this whole experience and to not learn anything would be silly. So what I also did, so I guess I need to also mention, not only have I had 62 million visitors, but I've had over 85, almost 86 million page views. Sorry for that little interruption there. One of the things I learned going forward was I needed a prenup. Now, full transparency, in my marriage, my real life marriage, I don't have a prenup. My situation, prenup doesn't make sense. Not a big fan of prenups, you know, especially marrying somebody you want to be with for the rest of your life. But in the terms of Google, you know, since Google did dump me and didn't give me any reason, didn't even give me a Dear John letter, I went into this with some protection. So what are some of the things that I did to make sure to protect myself that were like a prenup with Google? So I started to think outside of the blog. So what are other things I can do to protect myself? One of the things that I didn't do, I still kick myself to this day, was when I had all that traffic up until the Panda update, I didn't have an email list. And for those that are familiar with internet marketing, you always hear the money is in the list. Make sure that you have an email list and you're collecting email addresses. And I heard that for a little while. I'm like, what's the point? Like, I have all this traffic. What do I need an email list for? Oh, and then Google Panda happened and I lost all my traffic. And I'm like, oh, that's why I should have had an email list. So since then, I have been very diligent on building an email list and nurturing that list so that I have an audience in case that something happens. A good friend of mine was in a mastermind group with this guy for a few years, and just all around good dude, Pat Flynn. So he had this to say about building email lists. So one of the biggest mistakes he made as a blogger and a business owner was that he did not start an email list from the start, just like me. And we're not the only ones. There are several others that we just didn't get it. Like, wait, what are you, an email list? What am I going to email them? I don't even understand what that means. Well, now we get it. So if you are starting any sort of content channel, whether it be a blog, podcast, YouTube channel, you want to have an email list as a backup, or not even just a backup, but as a complement to what you currently have with your subscribers or your followers, whatever you got going on. The other thing that I did was I published a book. This was something that had been like a dream of mine. Never thought I would actually get it done, but I did. I published Soldier Finance. This was back in 2013. This was not self-published. It was published by a publishing house called Amicom, not to be confused with Amazon. They are now owned by somebody. I forgot who bought them out now. I forget now. But this was back in 2013. Published the book. This thing took me several years to write, but the fact that I published a piece of content, a publishing house was willing to pay me to write this, and at this time it has almost 250 ratings, which I think is pretty cool, averaging about 4.5 stars, I think that is, and there's a few 1 stars, and guess what? If you let the 1-star review, I still love you. It's okay. It's all good. It is truly just what an honor that I could write something that really just showcases like my journey in how I sucked at personal finance, how I almost went into debt, went into financial ruin, and yet was able to dig myself out of it and become the financial success that I am today. So something that my kids can read if they want later on in life. Whether they realize it, I also use them to plug the book. This is an older picture of my middle son whenever the book first came out, and love my wife for taking this picture. So yeah, if you want to check out that book, feel free to go to Amazon, Soldier Finance, type in Jeff Rose, you can find it. That's my shameless book plug right there. Booyah. Carrie Rocha, which you can't see her last name there, she owned a blog called Pocket Your Dollars. She sold it. While she had the blog, she also wrote a book, and she had this to say about writing a book. Having a book has expanded my professional network. The network has generated lots of opportunities with more to come. And I couldn't agree with Carrie even more. The thing with like writing a book that most people don't get, like a lot of people that aren't authors they think, oh, you're doing it because you want to make money. Okay, yeah. I didn't make a lot of money on the book advance. Like it was nice, but I didn't get like some 6-figure advance like some of other big authors do. But what ends up happening is that it does open the door to other opportunities that wouldn't have existed if you didn't have that book. And it's one of those, like I wouldn't have known that until I wrote the book, and all of a sudden I'm getting approached by individuals, by companies, by just different organizations that were interested in working with me because I was a published author. It's crazy. Like I've always kind of heard that. I didn't really know what that meant until it played out. So yes, having a book, and more nowadays, it doesn't even have to be published by a major publisher. Having a self-published book can be a game changer in your industry. I mean, it's just crazy. You have a book, people immediately see you as being the expert. And the other thing, I love this meme, it says, in case of a fire, exit building before tweeting about it. Building's on fire, get out, then tweet about it. Don't tweet about it while you're still in the building. But one of the things that I didn't focus on, I did social media, but it wasn't like a major focus. And one of the things that I definitely did not focus on was Pinterest. And, Pinterest is not a major source now, but at the time, I had completely wrote Pinterest off. I'm like, this is a waste of time. What am I gonna do with Pinterest? And then finally I started adding Pinterest-worthy pics to all of our blog posts. And just by doing that, I wasn't even promoting anything on Pinterest, but I was just giving people the ability that read a blog post to pin it. And just by doing that, we went from zero, like literally zero traffic, nothing here from Pinterest, to over 76,000 page views in a very short amount of time. It was crazy. Like just by making a little switch, all of a sudden now we're getting all this traffic from Pinterest. That was just one social media channel. So this has always been a reminder to not ignore other social media channels, especially if it's not requiring you to do anything different that takes a lot of work. Now, I wasn't doing the images. I was outsourcing that to an assistant of mine, and she was taking care of all of this. And one simple tweak led to that much more traffic, that much more exposure to the site and my brand. I love this by Derek Halpern. So Derek Halpern, he used to have a site and a YouTube channel called Social Triggers. Smart dude. And he was really big on the idea of you've got to promote your content. Like it is not a you hit publish and you forget about it and let Google do its thing or let Mother Nature do its thing or nature take its course. So he said in the beginning, when you start a new blog or a new content channel, you should spend 20% of the time creating it and 80% of the time promoting it. So that is just that's hustling, going on social media and not just like blasting it to people, but finding a way to connect with other people and then share this content that could help them in some way. He was so good at this, so strategic with this. And I really took that to heart because it was promoting our content on social media or on our email list or finding different ways that we could cross promote the content that we had. The other thing that I also did was I launched a podcast. I'm like, okay, I'm already doing video. I've got the YouTube channel, but I didn't have a podcast at the time. And the GFC podcast I launched it. I've taken a few breaks along the way, recently relaunched it again about a year ago. And that was just another sign showing to Google, hey, I'm the real deal. I've got written content, I've got visual content, I've also got audio content in the form of a podcast. This is Jamie Tardy from Eventual Millionaire. She had this to say about podcasting. She said, podcasting has been the sole reason that her network went from 0 millionaires to over 120. And she's made lasting friendships that she couldn't live without. I don't know if she still hosts the Eventual Millionaire podcast, but I mean, she had all these millionaires on her show. And just by having that show, she connected with so many people, all because of the podcast. And I've talked to so many others that their podcast has opened doors for them because now they connect with other people that they really had no other reason to connect with, but now they get to interview them for their show. And in that process of interviewing them, they're making a solid connection and building their network and building friendships. Like that is one of the huge side benefits of having a podcast. So this was the podcast then when it launched, and this is the podcast now. The only thing that's changed is got some white hairs and some facial hair, and that is the big change. But yeah, podcasting is a great tool. If you're not comfortable doing YouTube, doing a podcast is, I won't say it's easier, but you don't have to put your face on there. So that is a good thing. Less editing is a good thing, but it's another great way to get your thought leadership out and also connect with other people. So going through all this, the rebound, getting back together, but putting in some safety measures with the prenup, having over 62 million people come to the site, it has been a happily ever after. Now, there have been a few bumps here and there, like Google's still making some algorithm updates, and I'm grateful to have a team that stays on top of any different changes that we need to make. But because of all of this, because of the experience that I have and the knowledge that my team has, we can keep this relationship with Google. We can keep it where it's good. It is good. We're not worried about getting dumped anymore. But doesn't mean that you can't get dumped. It can happen to you. Maybe it wasn't meant to be. Either way, you got to remember just to keep it up, keep at it. Remember why you started. Anything. It applies to a blog, it applies to a podcast, it applies to a YouTube channel, because getting dumped isn't fun. But if you remember the purpose and the passion of why you did it, it makes it still hurts. Getting dumped still hurts, but it makes it easier when you can remember what is your why and why you started. All right, y'all, I hope you enjoyed this walkthrough of what happened getting by Google. I am not exaggerating like how devastating that was. Like, it was devastating to see all of my traffic just disappear overnight. And I know so many others that you probably can relate to this somehow, or you've heard of somebody that started something and then they had some sort of major meltdown or some major obstacle that derailed them, and they didn't get through it. They didn't push through. I don't want to take away from the fact that it took over a year or about a year to get my traffic back. So this wasn't like, oh crap. Okay, I'm going to start a YouTube channel. I'm going to start a podcast. I'm going to guest post. And then within like a few weeks or a few months, like it was back. Like it took over a year of doubling down to get it back. But thank goodness that I did, because if I would have quit then, who knows where I would be. So it is about staying the course, unlocking that grit, and just pushing through. And if you push through, you stay the course, and you help people along the way, you might be surprised at how rewarding it is. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this. Until next time, this is Jeff Rose reminding you that it's your money, it's your life, and only you can make it awesome. Until next time, peace.